Okay, so big thank you to my guy CT right here. I almost did another one of my 20-minute mute shows. Let me know if I'm good now, brother. Thank you. Yeah, that would have sucked. So, hello and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mike. And today, for episode, not an episode number, today, we're going to be breaking down Cage Warriors 148. All right. So, there's a bunch of fights. There's 3 title fights. We'll talk about all that. I hope you guys had a great holiday season. We're not quite done yet. Still got New Year's coming up. Should be a good time for everybody. It sounds like I'm good now. All right. Well, before we start the show, I do have to start it off with a shoey. I did lose a shoey bet to my guy Wiz Bets. Make sure you're following him. Dope guy was on my show, and for some reason, I thought it would be a good idea to do a shoey bet on Bobby Green. He took Drew Dober, and well, here I am now. I'm gonna have to drink a shoey. So we're going to start with that. I'll get that done out of the way, and then we'll hop right into the breakdowns. I don't think this should be too long of a video. I feel like there's a few good spots, but some fights, there's really not much to talk about. So let's start with the shoey. It is going to be a hard seltzer, unfortunately, because your boy is celiac, and I cannot have beer. And I'm not about to be drinking gluten-free beer. So we do it out of dress shoes here. It's just how we do it. And here we go. Last time I did this, I had Wiz on the channel and it actually worked out kind of well. So without jinxing it, let's hope it works out. F.U. Bobby Green. Well, that was a shoey. Spilled a little more than last time, but better this time. Not going to do another one, but I'll have another drink. All right, so without further ado, let's hop right into this breakdown. Like I said, we have a bunch of fights here, a few good ones, and honestly, I started from the top down when I broke it down. We're going to be going from the bottom up, but I started from the top down, so I had a bunch of spots that are favorites I was looking at, and I was like, this isn't going to be playable. And then once I got to the bottom is where I found a few spots that I like that I think we will be able to play. Remember, we don't have odds yet on this card, so we don't know what we're dealing with just yet. These are all just leans. I have to see what the odds are going to look like, but I can break down the fights for you guys until then. So, excuse me, bubbles coming from the shoey. For this first fight, we've got my guy Wiz Bets paid my dues, brother. I paid my dues. But yeah, so for this first fight, we've got Nick Bagley versus Kallum Parker. Bagley is 2-1-0. He's 25 years old, 5'8", and he's training out of Great Britain top team. On the other side, you've got Parker. Parker's 3-0, undefeated as a pro. 22 years old. He's 3 years younger, 5'10". He's 2 inches taller. And, you know, if you look at the Tapology predictions over here, everybody's liking Parker. Are the odds going to open that way? They often don't. Sometimes Tapology will say one thing and then odds open a completely different way. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. But if it is correct, I'm going to be all over Bagley. So looking at these two, first of all, the thing that stands out is competition. Neither guy has had all that many fights. We're looking at 3 pro fights each. But in those fights, you've got a difference, in my opinion. I'll pull it up right now. So for Nick Bagley, he lost to Ben Ellis, who I think is actually pretty good. He beat Scott Pedersen, who's not the best, but it's Cage Warriors material. Before that, Luke O'Neill looks like a regional guy who's not very good. Now, on the Parker side, you got Matt Hampton, who was 2-1-0 at the time. He's now 2-2-0. Ashton Kirby, that was a split decision win in 2022. Kirby has not fought since. And Eduardo Cardiel in 2022, and Eduardo has not fought since as well. So neither guy's fought that great of competition, but the edge in my eyes goes to Bagley. Now, something else that stood out was the striking. I kind of thought that Kallum Parker was going to be a decent striker, or at least that's the vibe I got. and it was pretty bad. Like, he's a pretty bad striker. I don't think he's good on the feet. I think he's pretty sloppy, and I think he's very hittable. His thing seems to be wrestling, right? It seems like he's a wrestler, a good grappler, and he did that against his last opponent, Hampton, but Hampton's not that great. Mr. X over here saving us time, saying the fight is off. Well, I'll speed this up then. Bagley has better striking. Bagley has better wrestling in my eyes, and Bagley has fought the better competition. He's at a better gym. Actually, he might not be he is at a better gym in my opinion. And yeah, fight might be off, so this won't matter. But if the fight is on, I'm going to be betting Bagley. I expect him to be an underdog, but we'll move on to a fight that hopefully is happening. I really wish they would update these. I know Tapology does their best, and they're like not affiliated with Cage Warriors, but I just wish that they would let us know before we spent time breaking it down. Yeah, I don't call things a lock, but I thought it was going to be a really great bet, especially considering Tapology fans seem to be favoring the other side. So regardless, we'll move on. This next one, we've got Orlando Wilson Prins versus Samuel Bark. Prins is 3-1-0. Do not have a height for him, although I'm pretty sure it's around 5'9" as well. He trains out of Root MMA. On the other side, Samuel Bark, 7-1-0. He's 5'9", training out of Wolf Fight Team. I'm not positive that that's actually his camp. His Muay Thai style is really legit. I'm kind of curious if he trains out of a more Muay Thai focused gym. I'm pulling up his Instagram as I speak to you, my dear friends, because I just wanted to see something. Yeah, no, he's doing his own thing. No real gym that I can tell. So on the other side, oh yeah, we just did all this. Sorry guys, it's been a long day. But anyways, going into this fight, kind of a striker versus grappler bout, right? You got Samuel Bark, who's a Muay Thai heavy guy, very Muay Thai focused. In the clinch, he's nasty. I love his knees. He doesn't even necessarily have to have you completely in the clinch. If he can get you there, he'll knee you, and it's deadly. His striking is very good. Good combos, crisp, keeps the guard up. You know, he's a bit hittable. I wouldn't say he's like an elite striker, but I would say that he's very good, and he's got a lot of power. And for a guy who's Muay Thai focused, he can handle himself on the ground. Takedown defense is pretty solid. I believe it was Manny Akpan who was taking him down a bit, but in my opinion, Akpan is a much better grappler than Prins. I don't think all that highly of Prins. His striking isn't that impressive to me. There's a good jab, but everything's a bit loopy. Also seems a bit hittable. Pretty good double leg, but again, I think the Bark's going to be able to keep it up. I think that Bark can also mix in grappling, although I don't expect him to. And overall, I just think that this is probably going to go 3 rounds, and Bark is either going to get a late finish or get a decision. So Bark is the pick. Whether he's going to be a play, it's very unlikely. I'd be shocked if we got a playable line here. They're probably going to open him -250, -300, and then it's going to get beat down all the way. Prins isn't bad, but Prins also isn't good enough to beat Bark, in my opinion. So Bark is the pick. Probably no play, and we're going to move on. I have a feeling that a lot of these lines aren't going to be playable, but we'll have to see. My guy Big Bird, thank you for being here, by the way, brother, saying Bark always finds a way to end up on the mat, but he has urgency. Yeah, you know, so he does get taken down quite a bit, but he is able to get up, and I just don't think that Prins has what he needs. He didn't do it against his past opponent, you know. He was getting taken down also, so I don't think he has it for Bark. I think personally Bark is going to knock him out, but we'll have to see. So this next fight, we've got Nathan Fletcher versus Alessandro Giordano. Fletcher's 6-1-0, 24 years old. He's 5'8", training out of Next Gen MMA Liverpool. Giordano on the other side, he's 6-1-0, 25 years old. He's 1 year older, 5'8". They're the same height, and he is training out of. I've got him at Team Alpha Male actually, which is a great camp, especially considering he's fighting a grappling heavy guy. Look, long story short, I think Fletcher's probably going to run through him. Giordano, we don't have a lot of tape on him, so you can't really decide anything very, you can't have a lot of confidence when you don't have a lot of tape on either side. Like, it doesn't matter if one guy's like elite and the other guy's just a nobody. If you don't have tape on the nobody, you probably want to sit it out. That said, I do think we have enough to work with for the most part. we don't know what Giordano's takedown defense will look like. He got shot on in his Dario Pozo fight. And if you check that out, I mean, that was Dario's only ever fight. And it looks like they pulled him off the couch. So I don't know how much to take from that. I do think that he'll be able to get taken down by Fletcher. Fletcher has shown a really strong ground game, really strong wrestling, 5 submission wins, all by rear naked choke. His striking is pretty good too. And that, like Giordano, if he's got any chance, it's in the striking, in my opinion. He's half decent, good body kicks, really nice leg kicks. Got a leg kick, TKO, I believe, in his last fight. It's good in the pocket, but overall, I do favor Fletcher even on the feet. I just find that Giordano's, he's very hittable. That's another thing. He's decent at moving like out of the way of shots, but overall, he's getting hit. He's doing that thing like the Bobby Green. No, you hit me, but that didn't hurt. Like telling the judges, yeah, he hit me. Not what you really want. Long story short, I think Fletcher's probably just going to take him down, grind him out, and then find the sub at some point. I think that he'll probably submit him in like round number 2 or 3. I don't really think we go to a decision, but if we do, I think it's Fletcher. I don't really see a path for Giordano. It'll be interesting to see what they give us for the line, but I think this is going to be one of those spots that's not playable. So we're going to move on. This is a spot I think we might be able to get a play in on. So for this fight here, we've got Emrah Sonmez versus Adam Meskini. Emrah is 13-4-0. He's 30 years old, 5'10", and he's training out of Great Britain top team. On the other side, we've got Meskini, 6'1-0, 26 years old. He's 4 years older, 5'9". He's 1 inch shorter, and he's training out of Old School Academy. All right, so first I want to say what up to my guy Tajik. What's up, Tajik? Thank you for tuning in, man. Love that guy. Bluebird saying Sonmez. So for this fight, right, I do like, I really do like Sonmez. Big Bird's bringing this up right here. If you just look at Meskini's last fight, he was fighting a dude 8-5-0 in UAE, clearly a regional guy from that scene. And my God, he was getting pieced up. He was getting pieced up. He got knocked down, I think, 3 times in the first round, but by a guy who just wasn't that great, who was just moving forward and striking at him. And it just was not a good look, in my opinion. And then he ended up getting a knockout in the second round. But nowhere in that fight, not even getting the knockout, did he like really impress me. Not like his striking's okay. Output is weak. Jab is pretty good. Striking defense looks pretty terrible. And he's getting rocked by leg kicks constantly. So I don't think much of the guy. I don't know much about his grappling game. That's the thing. That's something, a repeating theme we've got going. But I do think that Sonmez is going to have a grappling edge here. So Sonmez, I think, is going to have a striking edge here too. He's not the best striker at all, Emrah, but I think he's better on the feet. I think he's got a nice body kick. He looks more fluid, a little bit more dynamic, puts together better combinations. He's got a better output than Meskini. And like I mentioned, in terms of the grappling, if anyone can pull it off, I think it's going to be Sonmez. And he has shown an ability to do so. I really like the entries. He needs to kind of slow down once he gets them to the ground, because then they get up because he's kind of just going too fast. But when he's settled, he's showing good wrestling ability. Because I think he's better than Meskini in the striking, because I'm pretty sure he's the better guy in the grappling, and because I think we're going to get Meskini at favorite odds, Emrah might be my favorite play of the card. We're going to have to see. I just do think he's the better fighter here. Look, so Big Bird's bringing this up. What's with the tapology and these predictions? Here's why I think they're not always accurate, right? Why sometimes you'll have something like this, but they might open the line evens, right? Minus 115 each way. I think it's because when it comes to tapology, I've done this myself back previously. Sometimes you just want to pump your numbers on tapology. I don't use it. So I was looking at it, putting it in. You just look at what other people did. And I would bet you money that that's what everybody does, because these often don't make any sense. So in my eyes, what's happening is people are opening up these predictions, throwing in predictions because it already says what people predicted, right? Before you say anything. So you can just copy it. And yeah, of course, everybody could be wrong. but you're on the majority, so you don't care. And it's Tapology, you're not losing any money. That's why I was messing around with it. But yeah, that's why I think the predictions on Tapology are very weird and very off often, just because I think it comes down to people just following each other. So once someone already has a majority percentage, people just keep going. But we can move on. So the pick here is going to be Emrah Sonmez. I think he's got more tools to win the fight, and I'm really hoping they give us Meskini as a favorite so we can hit the other side. Now, this is a fight that I want zero to do with. We've got Dario Bellandi versus Justin Barry. Bellandi is 3-1-0. Do not have his age. He's 6'3", training out of Rendoki Dojo. On the other side, Justin Barry, he's 3-0, undefeated as a pro. 34 years old. He's 6'3" as well, and he's training out of Alliance. So honestly, I don't know what to make of this. I don't like Justin Barry. I don't like Bellandi. So I'm not going to bet either guy. But here's what I'm seeing. On the side of Barry, I'm seeing a guy who's really low output. He's a decent counter striker. He's got a good jab, but he's not putting together much combinations. He's not leading the fight. He's just looking at counter. And his striking defense doesn't look that good to me. Doesn't wrestle often. When he does, it works. I think that could be something he uses here. And his top control is interesting. I was like a little confused whether it was good or not, but it seems like he does a good job passing guard and whatnot. Not as big, not a sub threat, never got any submissions, and he doesn't go for them really in his fights. Not in the tape I've seen. So not much I like about him. He needs fights where he can skirt on the outside, keep it low output, and find his counters. Will Bellandi give him that? I don't even know. Bellandi, he's got decent striking, but I don't like he's got this hunched over guard, which I guess could work for certain strikes, but he's getting hit quite a bit. His own grappling is decent. He has a nice trip, but his takedown defense is not good. It's not good at all. I think he's going to have the better output on the feet. I think Bellandi will be landing more. I think that Barry will probably, one sec, I got to ban the sex spot in the live chat. They come in so fast. And why here? But anyways, I don't like either guy. I do think Bellandi will have the better output on the feet. I think that Barry will have the better technique. Bellandi, I got to give the grappling to Barry also. Because I'm so unsure of all this, I don't know. I'm going to say my lean is Barry. No pick from me at all, no matter the odds. I'm not going to touch this. I lean Barry, but his striking is just too low output for me. So we're going to move on. Now, we shouldn't spend way too much time on this fight either because it's another fight where we're missing a ton of information. We've got Helio Hernandez versus Chasen Blair. Hernandez is 1-1-0. He's fighting at a Brave Fight team. Blair is 2-1-0. He's training out of Next Gen MMA Liverpool. Wrestled for North Carolina, I believe it was. Yes, North Carolina State. So there's very, very, very little tape on Hernandez. I don't think there was anything. Yeah, I couldn't find anything. So I'm not going to sit here and break down a fight I don't know half of the sides for. I'll tell you this. Blair is a really good wrestler. Blair has pretty good striking for a guy with a wrestling base. So I do think this is probably a setup fight for him. It's probably odds that are unplayable anyways. But because we don't know anything about Helio, we're going to move on. It's probably a setup for Blair, but really what can we do with no information on Helio? All right. So for this next one, we've got a UFC vet and Darren Stewart versus Guilherme Cadena. Hold on before we move on. Big Bird saying Helio Hernandez is a Portugal ADCC blue belt champion. Okay. Well, that changes things a little bit. Again, I still wouldn't bet anything because we don't know how he looks in MMA. But if he's nice at jits, maybe you should really lay off the Blair parlays, if you guys are considering that. I wouldn't condone that regardless. But, yeah, good to know. Thank you, Big Bird. But for the other fight, Darren Stewart and Cadena, we got Stewart. He's 12-9-0, 32 years old, 6 feet tall with a 74-inch reach. And I'm actually not sure where he's training from right now. I don't think it's MMA Clinic like Topology says. Cadena on the other side, he's 30 years old, 5'10" with a 71-inch reach. So he's 2 inches shorter. He's given up 3 inches in reach, and he trains out of Team Cadena Warrior. So, look, again, very little tape on Cadena, so already we're limited. Guy's got 21 submission wins, which is impressive. Stewart's got 2 sub losses, one to Marquez, one to Roberson. Neither guy a huge sub threat, so not the best look. And then on the other hand, Cadena's got 10 knockout losses. Stewart's got 7 KO wins. I don't know. It's really hard to read this fight because you look at Stewart's last fight, and I thought he would spank Mick Stanton. I thought he had everything he needed to finally come in and get a W after leaving the UFC. And he couldn't do it. Mick Stanton out-grappled the guy, a guy who wrestles pretty well, a guy who arguably beat Kevin Holland via wrestling, a guy who has wrestled in the UFC. All of a sudden, he's getting taken down by Mick Stanton over and over and over again. What can you do? On the feet, I like Stewart. He's meat and potatoes, but that's not always a bad thing. In my eyes, unless you've got like kickboxing or Muay Thai or like credentials, like stick to the basics and get really good at it. Like I feel like those are the people who succeed the most. Guys who can utilize that jab to a professional level, not just to the point where you're just sticking it out, but where you're using it to find spots. I don't know. I just feel like sometimes meat and potatoes is a good thing. Darren Stewart, not an elite striker by any means, but he is, in my opinion, going to be the better striker here. In terms of Cadena, we don't have much on his striking. It's his the one fight I could watch. He went right into the grappling. And the grappling didn't look terrible, but he's fighting trash competition. So it's like, what can you really do with it? I would not suggest betting this fight. Stewart's probably going to be a heavy favorite. Should he win? Yes. Cadena's been fighting nobodies, hasn't beaten anybody good. I'm pulling up real quick the record of Cadena. Rubens Cervello was his last fight, 1-2-0. Mateusz Gluck, 8-9-0. Another great Big Bird. You got to pull up more often, man. This guy knows everything. Thank you. Cadena fought legit 2 weeks ago. That's good news. Well, not good news. That's good to know. I don't really know what to make of it, though, because he fought a guy who was 1-2-0 at the time. He must have known he was going to win that fight for Furious FC1 over in Benavente, Spain. So, yeah, I mean, this definitely should be Stewart. This is Cage Warriors saying, Stewart, here's a win on a platter. Now take it. All he has to do is not get submitted. How is he going to get subbed here? He has to let Cadena take him down. He really shouldn't. He should have the ability to stay on the feet, but because of what happened in the Stanton fight, I can't bet on that. I think Stewart will find the chin at some point and find a KO, maybe TKO, ground and pound. But my move here is leave your money off of it. Don't bet this fight. There's really, really no reason to. I don't think Stewart will even be playable. And we're going to move on to a fight that I think is going to be relatively close. And because of that, I'm very curious about the line. So, cheers, fellas and ladies. All right. So here we've got Damon Wilson versus Tobias Harila. Wilson is 5-0, undefeated as a pro. 29 years old. He's 5'9", training out of Alliance MMA. On the other side, you've got Harila. Harila is 10-3-0, much more experienced here. 28 years old. He's 1 year younger. 5'9". They're the same height, and he's training out of Asteris Fight Club. Yeah, so this one's weird. Harila was apparently the favorite going into a Sam Bark fight, and I guess he had his moments, but in my eyes, Bark looked like the favorite the entire time. Harila's got good striking. He's got a very good output. What he does best is his pressure. He's one of these pressure fighters where he'll come at you, hit him all you want. He's not going anywhere. Just keeps coming at you and eventually breaks his opponents or loses a decision. He's been knocked out once himself, which, considering how many fights he's had and that he fights the same way every time, it's pretty impressive. But he's getting hit a lot. I don't like that. He's fighting a dude who strikes really well. Damon Wilson, in my eyes, might be a little bit one-dimensional in that he doesn't grapple much or grapple that well. But his striking is very solid. I really like the striking of Damon Wilson. Good combinations. He's got this uppercut he'll throw in. Mixes up targets. We're talking head, body, legs, all at once. Really like the knees. Really like the output. Really like the hand speed. Harila, also, like, they're very similar. Harila is more experienced. I think that Wilson offensively is just better. And then defensively, I think it's Wilson. That's the thing. Because Harila he holds a high guard, but, like, you can hit him. You can hit him all day long. And he'll just keep walking in. His own grappling, it's pretty good, but it's nothing elite. I think Wilson has already been tested. Not a lot, but he has been tested a decent amount. I think he should be able to keep this on the feet. See, Big Bird's seeing this opposite from me. He's saying Wilson's less defensively sound version of Harila. The beauty of our game. You see, everybody can watch the same tape but see completely opposite things. I guess I could see an argument there too. I don't know. The way I saw it was Harila just seemed pretty hittable, and Wilson seemed the more defensively sound guy, the guy who was landing better shots, who was landing more technical shots. The thing is for me is that Damon Wilson, he's got 4 knockout wins, got 5 wins altogether. So the other win was by decision. And how is he going to look if he's getting pressured by a guy like Harila? Harila's probably fought the better competition, and if not the better competition, he's certainly fought more. So for me, I'm torn here. I don't know whether I'm going to really get to a spot here. We're going to have to see the odds. If they make Harila a big dog, I'm in. I do think he should not be an underdog. I think that something around evens would be pretty fair. There's a big question mark also in the grappling. I can't really tell you who's the better. I guess the better wrestler is probably Harila, but I just can't tell you whether or not Wilson's gonna be able to keep it on the feet. So because of all these questions I've got, I'm probably gonna lay off. If we get something near evens, I'll probably lay off. I lean Wilson, but I don't want to play him just because I don't know how he's gonna do against a vet like this, who's going to bring this pressure and break you over time. I don't know yet. He hasn't done that, handled that yet. So I'll probably be staying off. If they give me Harila plus 200, we're going to go a half unit on Harila, call it a day. But for now, the lean is Wilson. Not confident at all. Something I want to start doing this year is recognizing spots where I just don't know, and that's okay. You don't have to catch every spot. And even if you miss a good spot, there's endless more spots. It's not going anywhere. So that's something I'm trying to teach myself, trying to practice. And if I got too many questions, I'm not going to make a play. So while I think that Wilson's got the better technical striking and he's more sound, I think that Harila has the better striking against better competition. He's more consistent. We know what we're getting, and he's got this pressure that Wilson also kind of uses pressure, but it's not the same as Harila. So the lean is Wilson. No play as of now. Going to need the odds to discuss further. But we'll move on to this next one. Here we've got Toumas Gronvall versus Wilson Reis. Gronvall is 10-4-1. He's 28 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach, and he's training at a sports academy number 1. On the other side, we've got Wilson Reis. He's 25-12-0. 37 years old. He is 9 years older here. 5'4". He's 3 inches shorter, and he's got a 65-inch reach, so he's given up 2 inches in reach. Training out of Dadas MMA Academy. And this is one where I'm seeing a lot of people on Gronvall, and I understand it. Reis is a washed-out vet, fought in the UFC, lost a bunch. He did fight Cejudo, I'm pretty sure, lost to him. So he's fought the better competition. But look, he's 3 inches shorter. He's got a 2-inch reach disadvantage. He's 9 years younger. And his striking is piss poor, in my opinion, for Reis. I think his striking is abysmal. So, I mean, and look at the numbers, right? 0 knockout wins, 5 knockout losses, 11 sub wins, 1 sub loss. The guy's a grappler. You could wiki cap it a little bit, add your tape, and you got what you need. The striking is not there for Reis. It really isn't. And I've watched back a few fights, and it just hasn't seemed that way for me. Gronvall, pretty good striking, but against who? The level of competition isn't quite there. Reis, like, he hasn't lost anybody at the level of Gronvall. All of them, in my opinion, have been slightly higher level. Like, let's pull it up real quick. So Reis last lost to Taylor Lapalus. Like, there's no comparison between Taylor Lapalus and Thomas Gronvall. Donnie Matos, I do not recognize. It was a 16-second knockout, though. I normally don't take much from those. And then before that, it was Pantoja, John Moraga, Henry Cejudo, Demetrius Johnson. So, he's got a few random losses in there, but overall, he's not losing to people like this. He is getting older. He is getting that wear and tear. And Gronvall is definitely the better striker here. Now, here's another thing I noticed. Gronvall can wrestle, too. He's got pretty good wrestling. But do you really want to do that here? Like, do you really want to take down Reis, where he's got 11 submission wins? This is really his only shot, is to be able to put you on the ground. Reis has his own good wrestling. He might end up on top very well. Like, it's very possible. Nice upper body throws. He's a smaller fellow, and when it's hard to explain, but when you're shorter, you're a little bit harder to take down. And it's a little easier to get in on the shots yourself. I mean, what you do from there, that could be difficult. I used to struggle with long wrestlers because they would just post up and tripod, and then it's very difficult. But for this fight, I just think that, look, Gronvall should win. He's got the better striking. He's shown decent takedown defense. Should be able to keep this on the feet, but I would not bet him. I personally would not bet him. I don't think him taking down Reis is a good game plan. I don't think that it's out of question for Reis to take him down. I think the most likely outcome is probably Gronvall by KO. But for me, this is going to be a complete and utter pass. There's no way I'm betting this one. And I'm very happy to pass on it. But I don't really get the whole people are very excited about Gronvall here, and I just don't really quite get it. So we're going to be passing on that fight, and we're going to move on to the next one. And this is our first championship bout of the evening. Here we've got Sam Creasey versus Shajidul Haque. Sam Creasey is 16-4-0, 34 years old. He's 5'6", training out of Elite TC. Haque is 15-4-0, 32 years old. He's 2 years younger, 5'5". He's 1 inch shorter. He's training out of Ace MMA. And this is one where I had to take quite a bit of time on this one. I normally don't like to spend a tremendous amount of time on each particular fight unless there's little things that I want to go and check. But sometimes you kind of have to. And here I felt like there was maybe something to find. And I don't know. My gut is telling me Haque. My brain is telling me Creasey. I don't know. Actually, no, this is the opposite. I think my brain is telling me Haque, and my gut is telling me Creasey. Because my brain is telling me Haque has a better output. Haque has a really good jab that he double, triples up on. I love that stuff. Good combos. He's decent on the feet. A bit hittable. Don't love that. But he's good on the feet. Did I just close that by accident? I did. I'm sorry. He wrestles well. Wrestles constantly. Good top control. But there's an asterisk there I'll talk about in a second. But in terms of his striking, I really like the output. I would like if he'd follow up the jab just a little bit more. The 1-2 looks great when he's using it. But in general, the output's good. The striking's good. I like it a lot. And he's shown he's got cardio for at least 3 rounds. And like I said, he does have that wrestling. Now, there's a thing, though. Creasey, 7 submission wins. How do you beat Stipe Miocic? Guillotine. It's something that he has. Haque, when he shoots, his head is just kind of out there. I would be shocked. I'd be very surprised that if Creasey didn't at least pull Gilly once here. I think he's going to get at least 1 or 2 opportunities, and I don't like that. Like, I don't want to bet on Haque knowing that there's a good chance he's going to stick his head in a freaking guillotine. So that's why my brain is saying him, but my gut is saying, man, Creasey has fought the better competition. Creasey has shown cleaner striking overall. Creasey seems to be the bigger, stronger guy. Creasey seems to have the sub advantages. But he doesn't have offensive wrestling so much. You know, Creasey's not out here shooting takedowns all the time. And his output's low. So, yeah, Big Bird seems to be kind of feeling what my brain is feeling, saying high elbow, guillotine, or bust. This I didn't know. Haque beat Creasey back in the day. That I didn't know. And I'm normally good at catching these things. Look at this. Dude, start a podcast, Big Bird. Killing it, man. Let's see. Are we talking amateur? Nah, we're talking 2016 in Cage Warriors. He took Sam Creasey 0. Okay, that's a fight I'm going to have to go back and try to see if I could find. I like to watch those old fights, even for rematches, even if it's like old, because at the end of the day, their styles are still the same. They can improve things, but overall, it's going to be similar in my eyes. So, and another thing to mention while I'm looking at the record of Haque, his losses aren't bad. Lost to Jake Hadley in 2020. Lost to Zalgas Zumagulov in 2017 in Fight Night Global, where Zalgas was champion. Lost to Tagirwil and Bekov in 2017. Losses aren't terrible. And then for Creasey, let's pull him up. His last loss was Luke Shanks. I don't think Luke Shanks is that bad. Samir Fadin is pretty good. Nathan Grayson, I think I need to see his face. No, I don't recognize Nathan Grayson, but yeah, and Big Bird's saying there's no film on it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll probably get to a Haque bet if we get. I think we're gonna get good odds on him. I do. I think we're gonna get something like, if I had to guess, the opener on Haque will be like plus 145, 50, and then I think Creasey's gonna get bet down, and we'll get like Haque like plus 160, 75. That's my Couch Warrior prediction. But yeah. I do think Haque wins. That's like my lean. It's not the most confident lean. I don't know if I'm going to go anywhere with it. I really like his activity on the feet. I really do. The jab is something I like a lot. The wrestling is something I like a lot. I think maybe seeing them face to face will help me. I'm going to see if I can find that old face off from their fight in 2016. If I can't, then I'm going to wait and see what the weigh-ins look like. Big Bird's mentioning the 5 rounds. Yeah, but has Haque ever gone 5 rounds? That was one thing that I was thinking about, was that I don't think he's ever been 5 rounds. I don't think Creasey has either, if I remember correctly. No, he has against Lou. No, he hasn't. Yeah, I was correct. So neither guy's actually ever gone 5 rounds. So that's a good point. Also, good chance that Haque will have. What I noticed in my notes was that he can easily go 3 rounds. Like, he did not tire out in 3 rounds. So I do think that Haque could win this fight. I guess the concern, like I mentioned, like Big Bird in the chat mentioned, is that guillotine. We'll see the odds, but maybe we've got something on Shajidul Haque. Here's just a play that, like, there's nothing to do here, man. We got Christian Leroy Duncan versus Jesse Taylor. Leroy Duncan is 7-0, undefeated as a pro. He's 27 years old, 6'2". And I'm not positive that Range Martial Arts Academy is the correct camp. I'm going to pull that up real quick. Pretty sure he's at one of the bigger camps over there. And, of course, he doesn't have an Instagram linked, so let's do some stalking. And nothing on Instagram. Okay, yeah, so we're going to have to stick with the camp that Tapology says. Jesse Taylor on the other side is 33, 16-0, 39 years old. He's 12 years older, 6'1". He's 1 inch shorter, 73-inch reach, and he's training out of the Arena MMA. Look, I mean, I think everybody's on the same page here. I think Duncan's going to mess this guy up. Taylor needs his grappling. He's got 18 submission wins. He notably also has 15 submission losses. Lucky for him, Duncan likes to strike, but he's a damn good striker. Duncan's got good takedown defense, and there's really no reason to stretch this out. How I see it playing out, few striking exchanges to start off. Duncan clearly hitting him. Taylor running in, grabbing Duncan, pushing him against the cage, trying to get the back. Doesn't work. Duncan underhooks, faces him, keeps it on the feet, eventually finds a KO. That's what I think is going to happen. We're talking 5 rounds for a championship bout. We're talking a guy who is 39 years old versus a guy who is 27 years old. We're talking about a guy who has been in the UFC, who has done it all, who's clearly not at his peak, versus a guy who has not been to the UFC, has not done it all, but has shown great things and has not even hit his peak yet. So I think this is clearly going to be Christian Duncan. I think it's Christian Duncan by KO. If I had to pick a round, let's call it 3, round 3 or 4, but there's not much more to break down there. So we're going to move on to our main event of the evening. And for this one, we've got Modestas Bukauskas versus Chuck Campbell. Modestas is 12-5-0. He's 28 years old, 6'3" with a 78-inch reach, and he's training out of Jintas Combat. I don't know if that's true. I know he trains with his father. That I know for sure. Chuck Campbell on the other side, he's 5'1-0. 6'4", he's 1 inch taller. He's got a 79-inch reach. He's got a 1-inch reach advantage. He trains out of AKA, but he is 38 years old. It's not here, but I looked it up. He's 38 years old, 5'1". 5'1-0. I was surprised. Modestas is 28 years old, so he's 10 years younger here. Look, I never thought Modestas should have been cut in the first place. I didn't think so. I thought he beat Michal. I thought that it's an acceptable loss to get your oblique smashed and your leg smashed in with an oblique kick. So I never thought he should have been cut in the first place. And I think he's going to find his way back fairly quickly. I don't see anything in Campbell that I like. I'll be honest. I don't really see much at all that I like in Campbell. His output is terrible. His jab is good, but that's about all I see. Looks pretty hittable. Takedown defense is okay, but he got taken down in his last fight. I don't really have much good to say. He's a decent counter striker. He's at a good gym for counter wrestling. But Modestas, he can wrestle. He's not going to do it, though, unless he has to. He's going to strike, and he's a way better striker. He's got the way better output. He's got way better experience. He's got 8 knockout wins. Campbell's 2 knockout wins. To me, it's pretty clear. Again, I think this is going to be an unplayable spot. Maybe we'll parlay it. We'll see. I don't like Campbell one bit, so this is one of my more confident spots. I just don't think I'm going to be playable, and I don't think I'll be playing it. So that's it. That's a card, guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Went a little bit longer than I expected, but it wasn't too bad. And yeah, this is the last card of the year. Now this one is for certain. We are going to have a few regional events after the new year, before UFC. You guys know me. I'm sick in the head. I'm going to probably have stuff out for you for those events. I'm going to look into it and look into what we're working with. Any bets that I place on this event, it's going to be under @CouchWarriorPod on Twitter. Make sure to follow me there. Post all my bets as soon as I make them. I have Best Fight Odds on Twitter with the alarm notification. So when they post those odds, your boy's already on them. And then I post it as soon as I play it. So make sure you're following me. Thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you guys all for everything for this year. It's couldn't have done any of it without you. So have a great New Year's. I hope your previous holidays were all really dope. I hope you're all still chilling. And let's get it in 2023, guys. Thank you all.